Welcome to Bear With Us, the podcast where two women bravely explore the High Line.
One charming town and quirky event at a time.
We're here for the people, the stories, and the small moments that make this place special.
And don't worry, zero bears.
Probably.
Welcome back to Bear With Us, the podcast from Bear Paw Development, where we share the people, places, and projects shaping North Central Montana. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Julia. Today we're excited to introduce someone stepping into a key role in local government and already very familiar with how things work behind the scenes in Fort Benton.
We're joined by Whitley Nelson, the newly hired clerk for the town of Fort Benton. Whitley previously served as deputy clerk, and in her new role, she plays an essential part in keeping the town running smoothly, supporting city operations, maintaining records, and serving as a point of connection between residents and local government.
We're going to talk with Whitley about her background, her experience working her way up into municipal government, how the transition into the clerk role has been going, and what she's most excited about as Fort Benton looks ahead.
Whitley, welcome to Bear With Us. We're so glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So we do have a signature question. We always have a bear question at the beginning of our podcast episodes. So before we dive in, if Fort Benton had a resident bear, what local business do you think it would be seen visiting the most?
It's a tough
This is
question.
a tough one.
I listened to your guys' podcast on the way up here. I actually listened to the episode with Paul, and I was totally prepared to just be like, my favorite bear is definitely Smokey the bear, Paul, and you dropped the ball on that one. You know,
We've made it more complex as we've
Yeah.
gone along.
you guys caught me on my toes. Um, Probably the Museum of the Upper Missouri.
Yeah? Why do you think that?
You know, it's just an interesting place.
I think that's true.
Yeah, it's one of the coolest places in Fort Benton. The Museum of the Upper Missouri, there's lots of great people that run it in the summer, specifically when it's open. Really any of our museums that we have in Fort Benton are great assets
There's
to
a
our local
lot of
community.
history there.
Mm,
This time of year, though, it might be hibernating at the Grand Union.
That is true. Yeah, in the local casino there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be at the hardware store. Last time I was in Fort Benton, there was a snake in front of the hardware store.
Ugh,
No, thank you.
the worst. They like to come up on the levee, like near Chev,
Ah,
and just kind of sneak in there.
I
Yeah.
do not like snakes.
Mm.
Ew.
Well, Whitley, let's start out with you just telling us a little bit about yourself, your connection to Fort Benton, where you're from, things like that.
So I'm not a native Montana in the typical sense. My family's from Montana. My grandpa was born and raised in Fort Benton. And then my dad was also born and raised in Fort Benton. So in the summers, I would um, come spend every summer and Christmas vacation with my dad and with my grandparents. So grew up like half of my life probably in Fort Benton. And then when I got older, like in my high school years, I'd go and I'd work at the local pool in the summer, made lots of friends that I stayed connected with throughout the years. And then after high school, eventually I moved to Missoula. So I was living in Missoula for about 4 years. Um, and then I transferred actually for work to Bellingham, Washington. And I was there for about 6 months. Um, didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite. I think um, I mostly just missed Missoula so much, but I was kind of forced to go there for work and wasn't really my decision, so it was just kinda hard. I didn't have any friends or really, like, family, and so I decided to transfer with the company I was working for. Actually worked for H&M, the clothing company,
Oh, cool.
did visual merchandising for them, and so, I transferred to Minneapolis, and that was where my dad, and my stepmom and I have a younger sister 2 younger sisters, um, that is where they live, so I decided to transfer out there. It was closer to more family, and it was the only real option I had other than just staying in Bellingham, so I lived there for about 5 years, and in 2022, I was working from home for Wells Fargo, and I came to Montana and spent the summer with my grandparents, and just worked from their house, and that was where I don't wanna say I met my boyfriend, we knew each other, but we weren't really we ran around in the same friend group, but, he was a little bit older than me in school, so I didn't know him super well. And that summer we started dating, and then that fall of I think it was 2023, I actually got laid off from Wells Fargo, and he's just like, "Oh, just come to Fort Benton and
Oh my goodness.
find something here for live here." So I did. Took me quite a while to find a job, but I did eventually find a job in, at the First Bank of Montana. So I was there for about probably 6 months, and then, the city clerk position, it was actually I started on as the assistant clerk. They just wanted to bring somebody on to train with Cindy, who was the prior clerk treasurer. So they brought me on to work with her, and I got a year's worth of training with her, and we miss her at the office, but
She was there a long time.
she's been there a long time,
That's
about
wild.
12 and a half years, I think.
Oof.
Yeah,
Oh, big
she's
shoes to fill.
a wealth of knowledge. Yeah, and she still comes around. I call her and I'm, like, panicking. I'm like, "I don't know what to do." And she comes running, she's great. I appreciate everything that she taught me in the last year, and so, um, yeah, that's kind of the gist of it, I guess. I did do 6 years in the National Guard as well with Montana. I did about 3 years in Minnesota and actually 3 years and ended my, military career in Missoula with the, 631st Chemical Company out of Missoula. I was one of the first 16 people in the state of Montana to, be licensed to operate the strikers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was kinda cool.
Wait,
Awesome.
what's a striker?
Um, it's kinda hard to explain. It's very similar to a tank. It kinda looks like a tank, but it's on wheels, and, so my job was in chemical. I was a chemical specialist, and, um, with these strikers, you can essentially take them out into, like, a contaminated, um if there's, like, biological or radiological nuclear contamination, you can take it into a field that is contaminated, and you can test air, soil, water from within the confines of that vehicle.
Oh,
But
that's like right up your alley.
Right? How do I not know what this is?
it is also tactical. So, it was always my favorite part when we had the strikers. So I had to go to Kansas for 2 months in the dead of summer to
Oh
learn
boy.
learn this vehicle. It was rough, but we made it through. But when we brought them back to Missoula, the armory in Missoula, we actually shared with an infantry unit for the Army Reserves. And so it just wasn't, the motor pool wasn't big enough to fit all of them. So we actually kept them at Old Fort Missoula. And when we needed to transport them or, bring them to the armory in Missoula, we would drive them through Missoula, and the only way that you really can, drive with it, I mean, when you're in the driver's seat, you have no peripheral vision. It's like a hatch that's kind of, you can open, but you can't see anything around, only in the front. So you have to have somebody that's kind of, like, basically hanging out the back top part, and then, like,
Oh
also in the,
my
like,
gosh.
turret in the middle, and they're, like, kinda watching your blind spots. So, um, and in my striker specifically that I was assigned to, I had hooked up, like an aux cord to our helmets and our speakers,
Nice.
and so we'd be, like, driving down Reserve Street in Missoula, and we would just be, like, blaring music and, like, dancing out the back, and people are just, like, staring. They're like, "What is that? Are we
Oh
going
my
to
goodness.
war?"
Are we going to war?
Like, the whole sticking your head out to
Yeah,
it reminds me I just get, like, Ace Ventura
yeah,
images
Mhm.
of, like, sticking his head out to
yeah.
see.
It was pretty funny, like, yeah, occasionally, like, I don't know, things would, like, pop up, I think, like, on the internet. Somebody I think somebody in my unit once told me that, like, I don't know, something about, like, Jade Helm conspiracy theories, I don't know, but it always kind of, caused a stir on Reserve
I
Street,
bet
and
it
we would drive
did.
those through town, but
I
Oh
lived
my
in Missoula for
gosh.
a while, and I never saw it. We must have not been there at the same time.
probably not. I
Yeah.
think I was there from, like, 2015 to, well, I guess the strikers we didn't have until 2016. 2016 to, like, yeah, now they have
I was
them.
there in 2015.
I graduated from college in 13, so
Oh
I
gosh.
was I was out. You have quite the colorful background.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, you've kinda done some things.
Yeah.
Do you have, like, a certain degree that feeds into all of this, or
I don't. I have a bachelor's degree in project management. So, I mean, kind of. I mean, project management's very like it's a broad spectrum. Everybody is like a project manager, whether you think so or not. But yeah, I kind of got into it working for H&M, being a visual merchandiser. You plan a lot being a visual merchandiser for H&M specifically. Like it's very everything is very tailored to the brand. And so, you're planning like how many people am I gonna have come in, and help me with these moves, we called them, and we changed out like the mannequins and how many hours is it gonna take me to plan where everything is gonna go and like how it's gonna look. So that was kind of and right before COVID started, I actually decided to go back to school and get a bachelor's degree. And I was initially just going like for business administration, business management. Um, and I don't even like really remember how I know that like my manager at the time had told me like I'd be good at project management, like you're good at this, like it's kind of ties into it. Um, and the school that I went to actually offered a program and a bachelor's degree with project management. So,
That's neat.
yeah, I just finished that like 2 years ago now almost, I think. So,
Wow, cool.
yeah.
We're very used to having random degrees
Yeah.
around here, so
history right here. I'm in economic
marketing.
development.
No, it's funny because when I first I did do 1 year of college after I graduated high school, and I was, like, dead set on planning to be a teacher. I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. That was, like,
Oh, I love that.
where I wanted to be when I was 18 years old, and that changed very quickly. And Um, after I got out of basic training, I actually was living in Fargo, North Dakota for a little while before I moved back to Montana and um, decided I was going to do dental hygiene school. So I was going to school
Fascinating.
and I, did that for a little while and just didn't really work out. But yeah, I'm
That's
here
funny.
now. So
Our coworker Stephanie wanted to be in like the dental hygiene thing, and then she went and worked at a dentist's office for a couple months and realized she found mouths very disgusting.
yeah,
So
They are.
that was the end of that.
yeah,
It's so
yeah,
funny how we take those weird like, I too went to college right after high school, and I was a journalism major for a year and a half, and then I was like, "Why am I in school?" And so I dropped out for, like, 4 years
I know.
and took a hard
Yep,
hard turn.
I
It's
was an art major.
Yeah.
it's always interesting. Like my dad went to school to be a teacher. Mostly, I think he wanted to coach. But he went to school to be a teacher, and he does not. He works with schools, but he does not do anything with teaching whatsoever. He did like 1 year, I think, of like student teaching, and was like, no.
It's a hard job.
Mhm.
A hard job.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it.
yeah.
I always thought teaching kindergarten would be a fun time, and then I had a kindergartner, and I was like, "Holy, go away."
Well, all of that circles you back around into city government.
Yeah. I think when I first like got into the position, I had no idea what to expect. I mean, Cindy, I grew up with Cindy. Her son was one of her sons is about my age, and we grew up together. We've been friends since we were really young. So I've known Cindy for a very long time. And when I first started in the position, um, I mean, she gave me, she told me, but like it doesn't really prepare you for your first council meeting, your first angry citizen at a council meeting, your angry phone calls about water not working, water being turned off or something, whatever it is. Um, just the day-to-day things that like it just doesn't fully prepare you. And so when you first get into that position, it's kind of like a culture shock. Um, but I mean, it's great. I really like what I do. It's been quite the transition. December was kind of a struggle month with the our annual financial review is due in December, and that along with everything else that you also have to do. It's it can be a lot, but it is rewarding. It's good working with the city, and we have a lot of really great, like, residents in the city that are really passionate about working with the local city government for a lot of our different projects that we have going on, and so it's been really great to get in
That's
that position, so
that's super awesome. Do you feel like, your time as, the deputy clerk or assistant clerk has prepared you decently well? I mean,
I
I
think so.
feel like that
Um,
job is way bigger than most people assume.
it is, yes, and even Cindy's said, she's like, "I have been here for 12 years and I'm still learning things." She's like, "Things are constantly changing, there's just things that you just don't know," and, our accountant who actually does our AFR, Magda Nelson, she's great. Um, she told me to I mean, she used to work for local government services, and she's very, very knowledgeable, and I spent hours on the phone with her in the month of December. Like, I think some days it was, like, 5, 6 to 8 hours on the phone with her a day, just combing through everything for our AFR. She's very thorough, but she's basically just said to me, she's like, "You'll be fine. You don't know what you don't know, and you'll learn things, and things are fixable." And, so she's like, "You have Cindy and all of the other clerks around the state." We have the listserv and the Montana League of Cities and Towns. They're all just super great resources. And so I have moments of, like, pure panic, where I'm just like, I don't know that I can, like, do all of this and handle it all. And then, like, I have moments of clarity where I'm like, "It will be fine. We'll figure it out." So,
Yeah, you'll get 2 years in and you'll be it's gonna be easy.
yeah.
I'm glad that she told you that of, you don't know what you don't know and things are mostly fixable. Because that is something that I've definitely learned, now being here at Bear Paw. We get to interact with a lot of people in city and county government and even state and federal government. It turns out that those people don't typically know what they're doing.
Yep.
Everyone's kinda winging it at all times. Um, we'll sit in meetings. I know Sarah sat in a meeting this morning and was asking questions, and most of the answers to those questions were, "I'll have to get back to you."
Yeah, for sure.
So, I feel like it's kinda nice to just know that, like, you're not alone in the learning process. Nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just trying our best.
Right. Can you give us kind of like a breakdown of what the clerk does?
Yeah, so my essential job is managing the finances day to day for the city. That's the essential portion of it. We get revenues that come in. I have to make sure they go into the right revenue accounts, and then I also have to make sure they get paid out of the right expenditure accounts. I'm still kind of working through how, like, my brain sometimes just, like, doesn't compute, like, how it all processes together in our system. I know it does somehow. I'm still working through that. Debits and credits, I understand it, and at the same time, I don't understand it. But, like, Cindy and Magda have both told me, "It'll come to you eventually, you'll figure it out." But, um, that's kind of one of my biggest responsibilities is managing the finances for the city. So, um, you know, we have our industrial park that we just finished the project for. Um, we still have some bills that we're paying on that. We haven't fully received all of our EDA grant money yet, due to the government shutdown. We're a little behind, but so I have to manage that, and, with the help of Great West, they're a great resource as well. But along with some other things, our deputy clerk also does a lot of really great work. She helps as well, manages a lot of things and takes a lot off of my plate, which is great. But, um, also kind of HR essentially, like, you're kind of just like a jack of all trades in the office. I mean, but managing finances
The big
is
one.
number 1.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're kinda like the first person people see when they walk into town hall,
Yeah.
and so you have to be public relations, which I'm sure is really fun a lot of the time. No one ever seems to wanna, like, call or come in to say, like, "Hey, you're doing a great
I
job."
know.
They should more
They
often
really
though.
should. Um, So I also know that you guys just got a new mayor. How has that transition been?
It's been going good so far. I think it's gonna be a little different. He does still work. So he works for a local realty company. So I don't know that we'll see him as often as we saw Mayor Walker. Mayor Walker was there actually a lot. He was, in the office usually about 8 a.m., 8 to 9, and was there until 11 or 12. So I think that'll be kind of a different transition. But I mean, last Friday the 2nd, he was officially sworn in, and Monday was kind of his first, like, real day, so he's been stopping in every morning, and, he was our council president. He was previously, a mayor about,
Oh,
I think, like, in the '80s, something like that was
oh,
when he was mayor, a
interesting.
while ago, but he's been the council president for a long time, so he knows what's going on, and that helps too.
That's huge. Yeah.
And you guys just recently got a community development block grant for that industrial park.
We did, yes.
Congratulations.
Yes, so it's I think they filed it kind of, like, under our growth policy.
Year's capital improvements plan.
Yeah, so, it's really mostly to go through our ordinances. So, we had, one of the we had an issue back in earlier in the summer. There was a resident of the city who owned some property in the industrial park. Um, and with the way that our setbacks are in our industrial, I believe they're zoned currently at highway business. Um, and so it just makes it really hard if your lot is smaller, and not being able to build on that. And so we kind of had to go through the process, and the person who owned the property, they did the right thing. They applied for a variance with the city council, but unfortunately, the city council had just given power for ordinances and zoning back to the city county planning board, um, and so they wanted it to go through them before, and so it kind of took a while, but eventually this fall they did get it through. They brought it to us, the city county planning board. I'm also on the city county planning board for Fort Bend too. So, but they brought it to us. We did approve it. It just makes sense. It's a vacant lot. There is a building on it, I think, but it's a vacant lot, and that's the whole point of this industrial park and doing this project and getting water and sewer in there is we want businesses to be able to come in and build. And when our zoning and setbacks aren't
It's too big of
there,
a hurdle for
right,
people.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, um, that is the plan with this grant, is to essentially revamp all of our zoning ordinances, and I don't know if it's can't remember if it's fully, for, like, the whole city or if it's just for the industrial park, but for sure in our industrial park, we'll be
I think it was
dating
just the
those.
industrial park,
Was it?
but
That's
Okay.
I
very
just read
exciting.
the article on it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know our mayor, Ro Roger was having an interview, I believe, today with ARTV or something like that, so,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Exciting.
Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. I got asked about it the other day from new media broadcasters. I was like, "Oh, that's not mine. I'm sorry. I don't know anything about it." That's awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss, Lanny Walker. He was one of my favorite people of
Yeah,
all time. He's just so darn sweet.
yeah, for
He's a
sure.
good mayor.
Mhm.
Um, what parts of your job so far have you found to be the most challenging and also the most, like, rewarding?
Um, I would say most challenging, I think it really just kind of ties into, like, my lack of knowledge. I mean, Cindy trained me, like, she is a wealth of knowledge. I know a lot because of her, but there's still so much that I don't know. Um, and so I think the transition itself, just getting into the position and determining how I want to, run things kind of essentially. Like, I mean, I'm not the type really that I want to reinvent the wheel, that doesn't make sense to me, but, um, we all have different ways of working, and, um, I am maybe, like, a little more neurotic, and, maybe that's the project manager in me. I like to plan and be, So I think I've kind of struggled with that because there's a lot of things that are popping up for me that I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Like I had a Census Bureau report for our finances that is due next week, and like I wasn't like aware of it, you know? So having these little things, I think that is going to be the biggest challenge for me in the first year is really just like settling into the role and like determining my way of working. But I think that's also like going to be the most rewarding because I'm like, how can I be the best asset for the city and the city council and the government, you know? So it's kind of a trade off. We'll get there eventually. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
That's such a glass half full way of looking at the
Mhm.
challenge. I like that.
I
Yeah.
try. I mean, that's kind of, I feel like that's kind of a mentality you kind of have to figure out when you're in the military. Like, you're kind of just like, well, this is what it is. And
Just gotta jump in.
yeah, it'll get worked out eventually. And there's not much you can do about it. So,
One of my biggest challenges anytime I have changed a job has been learning how someone else used the filing system
yes.
because it's never the way that I would file things.
Yep.
And that is one of my biggest pet peeves
Yep.
is like trying to search through folders and being like, why did they put this here? But
100%.
then there's also the other side where like Julia from 4 years ago put something somewhere and I went, why did
Yeah.
you put this here?
I totally agree with that too. And like a caveat on that is the technology. And so I think between like my generation and like the previous generation, I'm a little more comfortable and familiar with some of the technology, and it like previously wasn't being used. It's not an issue,
Ah,
but that's just
it's
how
just
I'm used to
more upfront
working.
work than to
Right.
get it put into the
Exactly.
technology.
Even like opposite ends of each generation. I mean, we're both millennials, but
Yeah.
I'm a full 10 years older
Mhm.
than Julia. I just aged myself here. And I don't know how many times I'll be trying to do something and I'm like, hello,
I
I
know.
need you to come help
I
me.
know. Well, and that's the interesting thing too. Like with Cindy specifically, like she was really, really good at Excel. She taught me, and I thought like I was fairly decent at Excel. And she taught me a lot about Excel that I didn't know. And she was like proficient at it. She was really good at it. But there was also a lot of things I taught her with technology as well, and it's just a trade off. But that's also something that we're kind of working on updating in the office, I think, is moving to some more technology too. So,
I
Yeah.
have my cheat sheet sticker
yeah,
of all of my shortcuts here.
I know.
Nobody can see it on the podcast, but it's a delightful little list of all of my.
I need to get one of those, like, have you seen they're like the computer mats that have all of
Yes.
them on there? I'm like, I
I
should get
use
one.
this a lot. I found it for like $3. It's just like a tiny little sticker by my keyboard and saves me a
My
life.
my brother-in-law is like an Excel genius. He does software engineering for the government,
Oh,
and
wow.
he I like anytime like so for our building permits, Cindy and the previous zoning ordinance or zoning official Mark Ball, they had created, the what's the word? I can't think of what the word is. But they created like they figured out how to determine what a building permit costs essentially.
Oh,
And
like the
so
formula.
right, and so they have it, and it's written out, and like Cindy would like do the math on it, like she'd just write it down on a sheet of paper and she'd do the math there, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna make an Excel spreadsheet, and I spent like 2 months. And I created an Excel spreadsheet, and it's pretty intricate. And like I had to call my brother-in-law so many times and be like, how do I do this formula or like this? I can't even remember what they're called, where you like go in and like you're coding, like and so yeah, I'm a big proponent of Excel.
I love Excel. I hated it when I first, started here. I was like, "This is so frustrating," and now I'm really good at it,
Yeah, for sure.
and everything is on
I'm
Excel.
conversational
Yeah.
with Excel. I'm not fluent, but I'm
Oh,
definitely
no.
conversational.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Cindy taught me a lot of things in Excel. I was like very proud of her. I'm like, good for you, Cindy.
I'm
I'm
always
glad.
floored by how much you can do in Excel, you know? When I first started using it, I was like, "Who
Yeah.
wants this program? Like, this is so dumb." And now everything is like, "I can make an Excel sheet for that."
I know. It's great.
So what is like an off the wall duty that you have that most people don't know about? Like obviously, finances and things like that, but what's something you've encountered that you would be like, never in 100 years would I have imagined that this would be something I would be responsible for?
Mm,
Is it all pretty straightforward?
it is fairly straightforward. Um, I would say, yeah, I can't think of anything specific that's like super. Of course, no. Like on my drive home, I'm gonna be like,
I should have said
this was
this.
the answer.
Yes.
Participating in a podcast.
Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
Who
exactly.
knew? Something that I've noticed with a lot of the town clerks that we work with is, especially in towns where their mayor is not in the office all day, they kind of become the pseudo mayor. And so it's like, yeah, the mayor, we have a mayor. He doesn't make the decisions though.
They're like the king and you're the prime minister.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're really the one in charge.
Yeah.
right.
They get all the kissing babies and shaking
Yeah.
hands events and
That is true. That is true. I actually made that joke to one of my friends last night in the grocery store. We were talking and um, we were just talking city business, and he had said something, and then I was like, "I'm the actual mayor of this town." I actually did say that last night. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's things that like pop up all the time that like you don't expect, whether it's with like water bills, or um, like taxes. I like didn't realize that I'd be doing so much with taxes. And I mean, I don't, but I do at the same time. Like we have two TIF districts, our main TIF district in the downtown. We actually have a lot of businesses that do take advantage of that. So,
that's fantastic.
having to work with the county treasurer to get those added into taxes when they take those
And make sure it's
zero interest
getting
loans out.
yeah.
But um, yeah, I think that, like, when I went into it knowing it was a very financial job, obviously, um, but some of those little nuances that yeah, I think one of the biggest things I was not prepared for was, like, working so directly with the public. I knew it, but I wasn't fully prepared for it, and there's really good days, and then there's sometimes where the city government and the public just clash, and you're just kinda sitting there taking notes. And
Because you mentioned previously you had worked remotely.
yes,
How's that transition been to
you
this
know,
public facing spot?
um, for the longest time when because when I transitioned from it was actually during COVID, I had been back with I was working for H&M during COVID, got laid off for, like, 2 months, obviously, and then came back, and I actually got recruited by Wells Fargo in their loan department, and, they told us, it was going to be like, they were going to transition into, like, even when COVID was over, they were gonna transition into, um, completely remote work, and when I was working remote, I was like, "This is great. I'm never going back to in person, like, ever." And when I was laid off and moved to back to Montana, I was kind of forced to do that. There's not a lot of remote work in Montana, and I didn't think that I'd like it. I thought that I would kinda struggle with it, but I actually do enjoy I'm like, there is, like, some good here, right, to, like, getting up out of bed and, like, putting on real clothes and, like,
Yeah.
you know
Having to talk to
right,
people, even if
yes,
it's just your coworker, like
exactly.
There are days though I would prefer to just have a conversation with my cat,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
for sure.
yeah, it is. I don't. Some people are able to just work remotely all the time, and
I
I love
know.
the days that I can. But I
No,
need that interaction as well.
Yeah.
same, I need the social. I think my husband would get real annoyed with me with how much I need to talk.
I'm not
Yeah.
social enough outside of work. I need it
Yeah.
at work.
Yeah, same.
I told my boyfriend, I was like, "If I were to, like, get a remote job," I was like, "You'd never see me. Like, nobody in this town would ever see me." Like, I would be just in house all day.
I'm a homebody and, like, it would be so bad for me.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
So, do you find that with, so I guess it kinda ties into, being public facing. Do you find that this is the type of job that, like, is hard to put down at the end of the day? Like you're always the clerk, the city clerk? instead of just, "Oh,
Take your work home
now
with
it's
you.
5 p.m. and now I'm Whitley." Like,
Yeah, it can be, especially, when you're out in public and you have a lot of people, that come up and, they have questions about this or they wanna talk about this, and I don't wanna sound like I'm complaining about it. It's great. We have a lot of really great, passionate people in our town, which we need those people, but it can it can get a little, overbearing at times I'm still so new for the longest time, it was always Cindy, that people would go to, but it's going to be me now, and, I get people will text me and, on weekends and after hours, and I'm just like, "I'm not responding."
"I will call you on
Yeah,
Monday."
Well, I
exactly.
mean, we're still humans,
Right,
and we've
exactly.
got to take a brain break
Mhm.
every now and
100%.
Yeah,
then. I mean, my
for sure.
husband's one of the commissioners, and I love when people come up to him at the store, if we go in for groceries and people wanna talk to him about things, and I love that he's approachable and, he's able to have those conversations, but sometimes we're in a hurry, or sometimes, like, his brain is fried, and so
Mhm.
I'm like, "You can just sit in the car, and I'm gonna run in and grab
Yeah.
this." And
We don't work necessarily in government, but we do work with a lot of our local governments, and we know what's going on in our 5 county region most of the time. We know the ins and outs of the projects going on. And one of my favorite things to do when like a citizen comes up to me after work hours and wants to like complain about things, I will just go into citizen mode too and be like, yeah, as a citizen of here too, I'm really upset.
That's a good
I like
idea,
that.
If you want to talk to me in bear paw mode, you can call me later.
for
That
sure.
mode of me exists during certain
Yeah, for
hours.
sure. Yeah, it's been an interesting transition, and I think too, like, the first maybe 4 or 5 months that I started in the position, like, it was relatively calm, like, there wasn't a lot of commotion going on with, the city, and then, as you know, Julia, we had our pool, project going on. Our pool, it's very multifaceted. We do need a pool. It's something, it's very important to our community. Um, but also at the same time, there's so many nuances that, with any project, there's so many nuances that you wish you could just explain to people. And sometimes it just is not always that easy. But
Yeah, especially when it comes to recreational things, right? The city, most cities in general, just don't have enough of a budget to hardly run, let alone put money towards something that is fun. Um,
And they're so hard to fund.
and pools specifically, yeah, pools are so difficult to fund. And it's not that anybody is against it. It's not that that you wouldn't put money towards it if you had it. It's that that money doesn't exist, you know? And getting people to understand that is so difficult. And also, I think getting them to understand that, like, hey, if you want it, then you put money towards it,
right.
you know?
Yep. And totally a systemic issue, and, like, not even just in Montana, in my hometown in North Dakota is going through the same exact thing. The pool is 50 years old, and it just needs to be rebuilt.
Everyone built pools at the same time, and then no one took care of them.
Exactly.
So, looking ahead in the next few months, what do you think is a main goal that you wanna focus on or something that you really wanna tackle?
Um, I think really just, like, getting myself into the groove of, like, being in the position, you know, as the clerk, there's strict deadlines for everything, and there's seasons of being a clerk. When you're in the summer, it's your budget. In the fall, like, you're finishing up your budget and you're working on your AFR, and then, like, in January, you're like, "Oh, I have a minute to breathe," and you don't. Like, you have all these reports, these little reports, like, you don't think of, um, and so I think that's, like, my main goal for at least the first year is just to kinda get myself into a groove, have a plan, this is when I need to start, getting these things from my department heads for the budget, and this is when I need to have this done for the budget, and Cindy did a really great job of kind of outlining that already. So I already have, a good slate of what I'm going off of. And I'm like, how do I make it work for me and my brain and, make it mine? Um, so that's kind of my main goal this year.
I like it. So outside of just being in the clerk's office, for Fort Benton in general, do you have any goals, any dreams? Like if you could get a project done in Fort Benton, and it can certainly be the pool if that's what it is, what would it be? What would be your white whale?
You know, I think that Fort Benton's a really great community, and I said it earlier, we have a lot of really passionate, great people that care. Um, and that's just something that like you're used to, in a small town. I grew up in a small town in North Dakota as well. It was like 600 people. So you're just used to that. People come together when there's a need. One of my kind of little pet projects that I've done on the side, I did it. Me and she works for the county extension's office. Her name is Janelle Barber. Um, I had mentioned it during a meeting with Reimagining Rural. Um, so I guess to back up, starting point, I lived in Minneapolis, and I lived in Minneapolis during a very tumultuous time. But one thing that did come out of it is in a neighborhood near where I lived, they took an old bus stop and they turned it into, they call it the People's Closet. And anybody can come, take, donate clothes. It's just all free. And I think that's like a really beautiful, like, example of community. Um, and so I had mentioned something about doing a pet project like this during a Reimagining Rural meeting earlier last spring. And Janelle Barber with the county extension office, she had come to me later in the spring, and Fort Benton does a recycling bonanza every spring in like May. And she had asked if I thought it'd be a good idea to set up a clothing exchange during the recycling bonanza, and people can bring clothes, and take whatever they want. And whatever is left over, we donated to the Emily Center in Great Falls. And that's what we did. And it was pretty successful. We got not as many people shopping, but we got a lot of people to drop off clothes. Um, and so I continued with it and did another clothing exchange this fall during our art walk that we have every year. And it was a really big success. We had a lot of people donate. I had like my guest bedroom in my house was like packed full of clothes.
Oh my
And my,
goodness.
my poor boyfriend, like, he's great. He helped me the night before sort through probably 40 bags and boxes of clothes and, like, organize them by, like, men's, women's, and children's.
Wow. What a trooper. Yeah.
He was great, and, like, his mom, she helped me, come and, like, set everything up, like, that's just kinda it just shows, like, the community of Fort Benton, um, but we had a lot of people come and take clothes, like, it's just it's a need, and, like, things are expensive, thrift stores are expensive, and I think that's something that I'd like to keep going. I did set it up again like 2 or 3 weeks later during the Lions Club garage sale that they do bi-yearly, and a lot of people, again, came and took clothes, it was successful. So, I think I'd like to keep going with that, and I would love to see, like, a permanent setup similar to, like, what they have in Minneapolis. I don't know where or how we do that, but
That would be really, really interesting. I love that idea. The overconsumption of America in general is getting out of hand. You know, it's not getting out of hand. It is out of hand. It's been. Um, so I think that's really noble and really cool. A great cause.
Especially
And
when you have kids. I never buy new for my kids.
oh,
They're gonna
absolutely
outgrow it in
not.
12 minutes, so
I keep forgetting to bring you shoes for your child. I have a whole bag of them.
yeah, it's really great. I mean, I even had, like, I'm also on another board. I'm actually on the, board of directors for the Project Management Institute for this chapter of Montana. And I had them, like, people like, other board members, like, bringing me clothes, like, they live, like, throughout the state, like, somebody from Helena and, like, Billings and, like, all over, like, had them all bring me clothes too, so everybody participated, and I think it's a good cause, so but I didn't come up with the idea, it was Minneapolis.
rip off and repeat.
Yeah.
Exactly, but
A
Imitation is
fundamental, piece of what we do.
yep.
exactly, and it works. I mean, yeah, it benefits the community, and it doesn't even have to be clothes either, like, I think to, like, food pantries, and, like, Fort Benton actually has, a pretty decent food pantry, one of the churches in town. I think they do like every Saturday or something like that, or a couple times a month, so we have a lot of those systems in place that I think are really good to like foster community. So
I'd like to see that with coats too.
Mhm.
Like right before winter hits, do a coat exchange.
Yeah, not just like coats for kids, like coats for
Adults,
everybody.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
definitely one.
that's huge. That's amazing. Good for you. You're busy.
You're right.
I know. I don't know how to say no.
I'm tired just listening to everything that you've been doing.
I have a lot of help and I have a lot of really great people that are encouraging and, they want to help as well. So yeah.
Now you've mentioned a lot about like the community of Fort Benton and things like that, and that you're not from there originally, but you spent a lot of time. I feel that I too had family in Havre growing up, so I spent a lot of time here. Um, what what are kind of your favorite parts about Fort Benton?
Um, I love that Fort Benton it's it feels like real Montana to me. I lived in Missoula. I loved Missoula. Um, it was like one of my favorite places. And I've always had a soft spot for Fort Benton as well, though. It especially in the times now with like, you know, I go back to Missoula and like it's changed so much since I've lived there like 8 years ago. And I always thought that like maybe I'd move back to like Fort Benton and like maybe someday, like in my retirement I could move back to like Missoula and like love it again. I don't know that I'd want to.
Yeah, it's
If
also changed a lot.
it has, yeah.
I'd still go back.
Yeah, I
So
do.
I
Me
love
too. I
Missoula.
love Missoula too. It's a great place. But Fort Benton, it feels like real Montana, and it's just a great place. Like we take pride in the community. It's a really beautiful town. So yeah, the community itself. There's a lot of really great people there.
Or a lot of great little local businesses too.
Thriving local
I mean, you've got
businesses.
the coffee wake up is it Wake Up Coffee?
Mhm.
There's a little clothing store, gift shop
Yeah,
thing
we
tucked in
actually have
there.
Brunch
two
place.
coffee shops.
Oh,
Like,
do you know?
yeah,
Oh,
we are hopping. Moon Eyes Coffee, they're really great as well. We have, like, an assortment of restaurants, like, we have the Grand Union, it's fine dining, we have the Public House, I work there part-time, and it's, like, a barbecue place. I mean,
yeah,
you
it's
and
delicious.
yeah, I'm
So
like,
good.
what small town in, like, rural Montana has barbecue, you know?
And Casa del Gringo
Casa
now.
del Gringo, we have
Yeah.
Mexican, and then, we have the clubhouse, like and the great thing that I like about all these businesses too is, like, they're also so active in their communities. Like, the businesses are also very, like, "We wanna do things, and we wanna foster community, and we want to be a part of events," like, you don't always see that, so I think that that's great.
I feel like some businesses get tired
Yeah.
of it after a while, and it feels like Fort Benton has just stuck with it, and I I've always wanted to move to Fort Benton. It's so beautiful. Just for the river. I just wanna live
I
on
would
the
love
river.
to live right next to the river
Yeah,
like that.
so nice.
It is a really nice place. We take a lot of pride in Fort Benton, so
I love that.
and I think too, we'll actually see a lot of your, business like, local business owners in Fort Benton. I'm sure you're aware Fort Benton received the pilot tourism grant, and, like, so many of them are, like, on the committee in the organization that's, like, running that and doing it, So, like, they're involved, and I really appreciate that.
That's awesome. I know that, I've been helping Chester. They're looking at getting a pilot tourism grant, and we got one here, and, um, they have only been referencing Fort Benton and Havertz. That's it. That's those are the only 2 they've been referencing. It's been really funny. But they really like, Fort Benton's, sub-grant program
Yeah.
with that grant, so I think it's pretty cool. I'm really excited to see where all of that goes,
They do
so
a lot of great work, and the city works really closely with them too, so, and they want me. I wish that I had more time to do more with them. They're always asking, if I can join, like, their meetings and stuff, and I try to when I can. I don't always have the time, but, um,
Based on
they
everything you've told us today, you have plenty of time.
yeah,
I know,
you
right?
do nothing
I do
at
absolutely
all.
nothing.
Yeah,
I
you have
don't
No
see
so
what the
much
I
problem
have
time.
is.
yeah. I just have I'm just loads of free time. But those women are amazing. They do a lot, and it's thankless,
100%.
It's the same as, your council or your mayor position, it's all thankless. So,
But it's needed and it's
mhm,
good work. And when you love the community, you
yeah,
put that work in.
And you
yeah,
can find the joy in it.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, I think, the one takeaway, from reimagining rural in the couple of meetings that I went to last spring. They talk about it's always the same 10 people doing everything in your community. And it really is these women, they are the stewardess of most of the great things that happen in Fort Benton.
They're
So,
not gonna be around forever,
right.
and I think that's where it's really important that, you're coming in, you're bringing a new generation in, and, that's huge. It's hard. It's hard to get people involved. It's tough.
It's hard to keep people involved,
Yeah, that's
especially if there's
true.
not many people stepping up. So that's really cool to see you doing all this for your adopted community.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love it. I love Fort Benton.
good.
It's
Well,
it's always had a special place in my heart. I think back to summers, obviously, everybody loves summer in Montana. It's great, but I also I think back to Christmas time in Fort Benton, and as a child, it was such a magical time for me. I remember driving around Fort Benton, looking at all the Christmas lights, and driving through downtown Fort Benton and all the Christmas lights, and I think all the Christmas lights we have are still the same Christmas lights from when I was 5
They're
years old.
still as magical.
They're
yeah,
still as magical, and I just a lot of my greatest memories growing up were always in Fort Benton. So it's I can't always say that I had the passion, even for my hometown. I was never oh, I just have this call to move back there and really help strengthen the local economy, or anything like that. But with Fort Benton, it's a special place.
it is. Well, I'm sure that they feel just as lucky to have you, so
Yes.
it's so exciting. I'm glad you're there.
Well, Willie, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing more about your new role and your time spent in Fort Benton. It's exciting to see dedicated community members step into leadership positions.
Absolutely, and we wish you all the best as you continue settling into the role of town clerk, for Fort Benton, and let us know if you need anything. We can't help,
Right.
but,
You seem to have it all handled.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's been fun. I've never been on a
Yeah.
podcast before, so
Well, look at that. And thank you to everybody listening for tuning in to Bear With Us, the podcast from Bear Paw Development, where we highlight the people in leadership shaping North Central Montana.
Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes and share this one with anyone interested in local government or community leadership.
And as always, thanks for bearing with us.